Hello, I'm Tony Filippone. I'm the Amazon best-selling author of Financial Planning for the Not Yet Wealthy. I've also written this book, How to Have a Happy and Stress-Free Retirement. So today, my topic that I wanted to talk to you about is how to choose the best financial advisor for you in the Rockford area. So how do we go about that? Well, there's a couple key things we're going to talk about. How to know if your financial advisor is legitimate. How do you know if your financial advisor has your best interest at heart? And then how do you know if a financial advisor is really going to be a good fit for you personally? So let's start off with how do we know if your financial advisor is legitimate? There's a surprisingly easy way to do this. Just go to Google, and I want you to Google brokercheck.com. If you go to brokercheck.com, this is a third-party resource. It's free to use, and it will tell you exactly the licenses that your potential financial advisor holds. It'll tell you their background. It'll tell you where they've worked before, tell you how long they've kind of been in the industry. It'll tell you if there's any red flags, any things that they're in trouble for or being investigated for. These are things that really you would need to know right before you would enter into a relationship with someone who's going to manage all of your money. So please, before you work with anyone, make sure you check them out at BrokerCheck. And again, it's a third-party resource. They don't have any vested interest in putting forth a good report on any advisor. No advisor can pay them to have better information on there. It's just generic, objective information about your advisor. So please check out your your advisor on BrokerCheck before you do business with them. It's just a smart move. Now, how do you know if a financial advisor has your best interest at heart? Well, you know, that's harder to actually, get a finite answer on, but really there is one way that you can ask your broker this question. You can ask your advisor if they are a fiduciary. Now, most stockbrokers, in fact, stockbrokers and insurance agents, as a rule, do not have to be fiduciaries, and they're not just by nature of their license. So really, the only advisors who can call themselves a fiduciary would be a fee-based or a fee-only advisor. If you want to know more about the different business models of advisors, that's for another video, which, by the way, is on my website. If you go to my cost, how much does it cost to work with a financial advisor tab? It's like the second biggest tab on my website. I have a whole article and video just on that because there's a lot to it, knowing all the different business models of a financial advisor. So if you want to check that out, please do. But really, how do we know that your financial advisor has your best interest at heart? Well, ask them if they're a fiduciary. So what is a fiduciary? Because that's a $10 word, right? We don't use that in everyday language. It's kind of a jargony kind of word. So fiduciary is just somebody who is legally obligated to have your best interest or to put your best interest ahead of their own. A fiduciary has to act that way. And again, only certain investment licenses are required to do that. Mine is. I'm a Series 65 fee-based advisor, and when I'm talking about investment decisions, I am acting as a fiduciary, which means I have to legally act in your best interest, and I have to disclose any time that I might not be, or if there's any potential conflict of interest, that has to be disclosed legally. I am supposed to tell you that up front. So fiduciaries are held to a higher standard, so it definitely helps in knowing that your advisor is looking out for your best interest, I think. Now, in addition to that, how do you know if a financial advisor really is a good fit for you? Because maybe you checked them out on BrokerCheck and they're all good. They are a fiduciary and they're acting as a fiduciary when they're helping you, and it all checks out. But how do you know if they're really right for you? And that's more of a gut check kind of a decision, right? So when I sit down with prospective clients, I let them know that it's my job to help them make educated financial decisions that feel right to them, right? It has to feel right. My job is not to wrestle anybody into any particular path or strategy, but it's really just to lay out options and hopefully to provide options that maybe you wouldn't have even thought of on your own, because I've been helping people down this path for 27 years. So obviously I've come across some things that, maybe not everyone has come across. So uh, I just let people know that up front, and then I ask, even before we move forward, at the end of a process, I ask everyone, obviously I like what I put together for you, but how do you feel about what it is that I put together? And I use that wording, how do you feel? Because it really should feel right. If it feels right, most people are like, hey, how do we get this started? And that's great. That's where I want them. Really, because if they don't feel that way, something's off. We miss something along in the process. And if we miss something and they're feeling hesitant and unsure about moving forward, that's not a good sign. Maybe there's something off, right? And sometimes it's just chemistry. Sometimes you just don't maybe like that advisor. Maybe you don't have a good feeling about them. Just as maybe you don't feel like you get along with them. Maybe there's all kinds of reasons why that might go wrong. So if you're not feeling good about the person you're working with and you don't feel they have your best interest at heart, then that's a problem, right? So I think that's a real important gut check before you move forward with an advisor. It's got to feel right to you, or you shouldn't do it. End of story. Now, if it's kind of on the fence and you're just not sure and you need some time to think about it, a good advisor is not going to pressure you into making a decision. So if you're getting any kind of pressure or being pushed down a path or pushed to move forward, you're probably not working with a trusted advisor, and maybe you should probably talk to somebody else and get some other options, other opinions, second opinion, so to speak. So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Before you leave this site, make sure you check out my other 10 to 12 minute video on this site. Somewhere there should be a link to it. How to avoid going broke in retirement while securing your nest egg. You got to watch that. There's some things on that video that a lot of advisors just aren't talking about. And I think they kind of ought to be. And I think it's being missed. There's some topics that are just being missed by a lot of people retiring, and even a lot of people in our industry that aren't talking about certain risks that are very important and you need to know about. So please check out the video. It's 10 to 12 minutes long. How to avoid going broke in retirement while securing your nest egg. Go watch that now. Thanks again. Have a great night.